are getting exasperated now with the behavior of our MPs. Even question hour is being interrupted repeatedly. Is this the parliament that our founding fathers of 1947 dreamt of, Najma Heptullah?
Rajdeep, what the president said.
Yes.
He says people are getting disillusioned.
Yes.
Because the government is not answering to the queries of the members of parliament. Their anxieties, when they express on the floor of a house, when they express in the chamber of the presiding officer under the rules, because every time a rule book is shown, under the rules when they demand certain discussion, they have been avoided by the government and the presiding officer. Then what is left for the members of parliament to raise the issue?
My point is, ma'am, you have been a deputy chairperson. Do you believe that it is right for members to be rushing into the well of the house day after day, protesting at a time when the country needs some direction?
I don't agree with it that members should be coming to the well or shouting slogan.
Yes.
Rajdeep, you know that for last 7 years I was doing the same job of letting members not to come to the well, to talking to them, to speaking to them. But what is the job of the parliament? The job of the parliament is not only to legislate, but to oversee the working of the government. If there are doubts about the working of the government regarding corruption, regarding security, regarding our border,
yes,
and if members of parliament are not allowed to raise those issues within the rules, what they would do.
Okay, so you're saying, you're in a sense pointing out, if you believe the helplessness of MPs, they need to raise issues. Jay Panda, you're also an opposition MP. Is anarchy a strong word, or is probably a strong word, but would you concede that the legitimacy of parliament is being lost in this din? There are several, we've had, 8 days of parliament of this session, but 6 or 7 of them, not a single, no business has been transacted almost.
No. I must correct you, Rajdeep. We have done 3 legislation that passed yesterday.
Ma'am, the fact is...
Because in 13 years in both houses, I have never disrupted parliament.
Give me one reform. Give me one reform. What would you like to see to change to make parliament start functioning?
Okay, we don't have simple rules as to how many MPs can actually ensure a voting discussion. For example, in the UK, if 40 MPs demand a discussion, it must happen. The Speaker has no discretion. The government has no discretion. We don't have those rules. So everything is left to consensus, which means whoever it suits to disrupt, they disrupt. Everybody has a veto power. It didn't suit the government in the first few days, so Congress MPs disrupted the parliament. Today, it doesn't suit the BJP. They are disrupting the parliament. We must have a strict rule that if, let us say, 50 MPs sign on for a discussion, there is no discretion. That discussion must happen. So we need modernized rules.
Okay, you need modernized rules. That's the first big news flash, that an MP is calling for changing the rules of parliament and the way parliament functions. Yogendra Yadav, I'm going to be playing some shots from 14th August 1947 and the famous Tryst with Destiny speech, also in the same parliament. Do you get a sense that we are being excessively critical? Or is it, after all, an election year? Political parties will use parliament to score political points. Has that midnight hour dream really been destroyed, in a sense, by today's parliamentarians?
No, you're not being excessively critical, Rajdeep, at all. I think there's something is terribly wrong. In fact, I think the news is worse than we think it is. It's bad that the parliament doesn't function. It's bad that we have this kind of behavior. What is worse, Rajdeep, is no one seems to care. This happens, and for ordinary people, those who simply watch news once in a while, they think, yahan aisa hi hota hai. That's the terrible part of it. I think the sacred institution of our country has been reduced by those who occupy the position there to this level. I really appreciate what Sachin Pilot said, that spirit of non-partisanship, and I wish Najmadi had shown that spirit here. Because that truly is the case, cutting across board. If you are an ordinary citizen, the sense that you get is that when it comes to big questions, when it comes to food security bill, when it comes to, say, the land acquisition bill, one of the bigger questions of our time, there is almost an orchestrated attempt to ensure that nothing happens. But when it comes to the self-interest of the politicians, when it comes to exempting themselves from RTI at the cost of everyone else, well, it happens. When it happens to saying the rules about criminality applies to everyone except to the sitting MPs, then of course it happens. So what message are we sending to the people? The president today has talked about cynicism.
Yes.
Isn't this what breeds cynicism among ordinary people?
Let me take that to Sachin Pilot. Sachin Pilot, we've seen in this session already in the last week, parliamentarians getting together to amend the right to information so that political parties are do not come under its purview. That parliamentarians are getting together to challenge the Supreme Court order that would ban MPs who are convicted from contesting elections. The fear is, as Yogendra says, if MPs are going to get together for such causes, the cynicism is going to grow. How are you going to break this cynicism? The worry at the moment is that people are getting cynical about what's happening in Parliament, and they're getting cynical about MPs acting in their self-interest.
I think the part of the problem also, Rajdeep, is that our media also is far too cynical to even look at some of the silver linings, and I'm not here defending.
Hold on. Why blame? Answer my question. I'll come to the media in a moment.
I will answer your question.
I'm not holding a brief for the media here.
Raised 2 points.
I'm asking you a question. When the Parliament decides, for example, that right to information will not include political parties, or that convicted candidates are out of it, there will be cynicism.
Rajiv, please have some patience and listen to my answer to both your points.
Sure.
The point that political parties are making is that the political parties are open to scrutiny by income tax. They declare all their assets, incomes, whatever they have to the Election Commission, and if no government money has been taken, then the parties are within their rights to question that ruling. Second point about convicted people. Now, if the political person is doing a dharna or a protest and is convicted by a lower court, I think every citizen has a right to appeal to the higher court. Now, this may be used as a political tool by opponents. We have 44 parties in Parliament. There are all sorts of people who will allege all sorts of things. The truth must prevail. So the fact is that we have got to have some protective mechanism to protect the people who are not really those criminals that we talk about. I am not proud of the MPs who have criminal track records. In fact, I don't think we should have them in any legislature, let alone Parliament, even the Vidhan Sabhas. But can I make 2 extra points? Do not forget, it was the Parliament which enacted the law of horse trading. Now, you can't break parties like you used to do 20 years ago. 2/3 majority is required. So that horse trading was a big black mark which we've been able to wipe away from our clothes. The second point is about limiting the number of ministers you can make in each government. Only 10% of the members of Parliament in the whole Parliament can be made ministers. Earlier state governments used to make half the MLAs ministers. So we've done also some corrective mechanisms to contain ourselves, to make sure we are more accountable and responsible. Let's not paint everything politicians do in a bad light. Shouting in Parliament brings about a very negative perception. I concede that. But it is not that the Parliament does not sit up to late night and does some work. We are responsible to some point, but we have to have more respect for each other. I don't think shouting and sloganeering and pointing fingers in Parliament is going to get any votes. Make no mistake, elections are coming. You'll see more of it. I'm of the opinion the more you figure point, the more you shift blame, the lesser vote you're going to be able to attract from this country.
That's interesting. You're saying that actually the bad behavior, that if parliamentarians raise their voice inside Parliament, it's not going to get them votes outside it. Najma Heptulla, you're the oldest member in a sense on our panel, and you come from a famous freedom fighter family. What do you think our freedom fighters would have said when they see the kind of behavior inside Parliament today, Najma ji?
Yeah, the main thing is, if you are trying to bring the freedom fighters, you are reminding me the speech, the historic speech that Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru made. Now, do you remember how much he used to respect the Parliament? Do you remember that all the ministers at that time were questioned on the floor of the House, and they never shied themselves away for whatever the scrutiny the members wanted? They were prepared to come forward. How many ministers, how many government people take the Parliament seriously?
I think you make a very good point. I think you make a very good point that I want to take back to Sachin Pilot. Hold on. You know, Sachin Pilot, there are figures that Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi, for example, rarely attend Parliament. Here are the leaders of your party. Rahul Gandhi rarely speaks in Parliament. Jawaharlal Nehru used to sit every day in Parliament through question hour, would answer questions. Today in government, even the Prime Minister is often not seen in Parliament. So there is, you know, when those at the top don't take Parliament seriously, how do you expect others to take it seriously, Sachin Pilot?
That is not true.
That is true. I have the figures. Rahul Gandhi, Sonia Gandhi have barely attended Parliament. They are among the lowest attendees in Parliament.
We're talking about the government. Both of them are not ministers. As a minister and the government, the single most important, let me finish.
Yes.
The single most important thing that a minister does is prepare for the questions that will come out of question hour. But
Yes.
if the question hour itself is shouted down, you are not wanting to ask questions, if I can say with all respect to my opposition. The question hour is not even allowed to function. You just want to shout it down to make a political point, come out to the press cameras and say, well, we've disrupted the House one more time. Every minister comes fully prepared, and no less than the Prime Minister. Every session comes and says, I'm happy to discuss anything that the opposition wants. Let's have a healthy debate on the floor of the House, not in TV studios. But you want to disrupt the House and then make a brownie point at evening on TV channels.
Yes, Najma ji, you raised your hand. You want to quickly rebut that, then I'll go to Derek O'Brien, who also joins us. Yes. Yes.
I have great respect for Sachin Pilot. He is a very efficient minister, and I've seen him in the question hour. But the Parliament doesn't start at 11 o'clock and end at 12 o'clock in the question hour. There are major legislative business which takes place in the House, which affect large number of people in the country, much larger than a simple question. Yesterday, there was a question that not even a single cabinet minister was present in Rajya Sabha. When the issue was raised, then some ministers came. I'm sorry, Rajdeep, you have been covering the Rajya Sabha when I was deputy chairman also.
Yes.
You remember how seriously people used to take. Even Rajiv ji used to take it more seriously. Even Narasimha Rao used to take seriously. I don't see minister being very serious.
You're saying the Minister of the country doesn't take Parliament seriously. Let's get a straight answer from you.
He never answers. He never answers any question in the House. The leaders of the various political parties put their question, he should get up and answer.
Okay.
He never answers, he keeps watching. I am sorry, I have a great respect for the Prime Minister. He is the Prime Minister of the country, not a political party or a section of the people of the society.
Okay.
But don't you think that we have a right to ask him something?
Okay. Jai Panda, do you believe that's part of the problem? There are a number of MPs, including Najma Heptullah, claims the Prime Minister doesn't take Parliament seriously enough.
Rajdeep, a much bigger issue, I think, is getting treated tangentially, and this has to do with RTI and the Supreme Court judgment on convicted MPs. I want to quickly say that although I have high regard and affection for my friend Sachin Pilot, I humbly disagree with him. I'm proud to say that my party, BJD, has taken a different stand on this. We support the Supreme Court decision that convicted MPs and MLAs must be disqualified. And if there are, unjust judgments, the answer to that is not that they be given special privileges to continue in their elected position, but that fast-track courts must be set up so that their cases can be adjudicated early. No other citizen has this privilege, and anybody that wants to contest for an MP also doesn't have that privilege. Sitting MPs should not have that privilege. And on the RTI issue, I believe that we must enact similar powers in the Election Commission, which is the correct constitutional body. And if we don't agree to do that, then let it continue under RTI. It may not be perfect, but it will force parties to be transparent.
You know, you're in a bit of a minority because Derek O'Brien and you are perhaps the only two political parties who have come out openly to say that you are ready to have political parties under RTI's purview. Derek O'Brien?
Because no, as a fallback, I think it should be under the EC, and this is because we see the anger in the public, we see the anger among the Indian voters, because they also see the cynicism that you're talking about, that when it comes to our own self-interest, we have no problem getting together and legislating. It is only when it's in the national interest that we are constantly not able to legislate.
Derek, you want to get in a word in on that? Are politicians working towards their self-interest? 66 years after independence, are politicians simply working towards their self-interest? Are MPs working for their self-interest? Which is why the MPs don't want to come under RTI, which is why MPs want convicted candidates to continue to contest elections.
See, my party's views on both these issues are very, very well known, so I'm not going to repeat that this evening because I've mentioned this twice on your program. But I thought the issue we are discussing today is how should Parliament run, and here, Rajdeep, the big point is who is really responsible for making Parliament run? Of course, the MPs themselves, and also the government. The government has a major role to play, and I'm not, in the last 7 days, if you look at it, and this is absolutely non-partisan, what do the MPs do when the defense minister of the country, in the headline of his statement, says the attack was by Pakistani army, and in the body copy of his statement, it says about persons dressed in people wearing Pakistani uniforms. Obviously, this was such a conflict. Even as a baby MP like me, who's only been there for 2 years, would read the statement and know this is some major dichotomy. Right. So I think the role of Parliament, in fact, the structure has changed. It is not one of those now 3/4 majority governments. It's a clutch of regional parties with regional aspirations.
No, I take that point. I take that point. But in the process of so many regional parties, are you only reflecting your state issues and not national issues? Today, for example, there was a battle between the BJP and West and your MPs over Gorkhaland. Every day there is some fresh issue. TDP is raising the issue of Telangana. No. How will Parliament function if MPs put state interest above national interest?
Always, I think, there is no doubt. Please do not be so. Let me just finish this one point, Rajdeep.
Yes.
I think it's very condescending for everybody to think that only the so-called Delhi parties have national interest. And if you're from any other state, you don't have a national interest. That's a very condescending way to look at it. Okay. But I honestly believe let me give you one more example.
Yes.
What is you bring Telangana 3 or 4 days or 1 week before Parliament. You bring that, you've had it from 2007. You're trying to do political gimmicks. Food security bill, Telangana, or you're trying to do political gimmicks. Of course, Parliament is used for deliberation, debate, legislate. But it also has to reflect the mood.
Okay.
So the government, which is in a minority actually, Congress government is in a minority. We walked out, DMK walked out, now they're trying to do this. So it's a collection of issues. So
I get your point, Derek. I get your point.
That party.
I get your point. I get your point. Let me take that to Yogendra Yadav. Yogendra Yadav, given this splintering of Parliament, is our Westminster model of parliamentary democracy exhausting itself? The model that we chose in 1947, is that exhausting itself? Or is it simply the elected representatives who have failed the model?
It would be too early and perhaps excessive to say that the model is exhausting itself. What is exhausting itself is the current political establishment of the country, which is shared both by the ruling party and the opposition. Let's separate the question of form and substance here, Rajdeep, because most of the time we end up focusing on form. MPs shout in the parliament, that's of course bad form, and I'm glad many persons from different parties have said so here. But that's not the only question. The real question is that of substance. As and when we don't see this poor form, as and when we don't have MPs shouting, what is the substance? And how do ordinary people view the substance of what is being discussed in the parliament? My fear is, I could be wrong, and I would wish to, and I don't wish to undermine the fact that Parliament has done some spectacular work, especially parliamentary committees have done extraordinary work, I must put it on record. At the same time, if you were an ordinary Indian citizen, and you watched what was happening, and forget the question of form, you would be forced to conclude that there is so much of tamasha and drama here precisely because there are no serious differences, because when the food bill comes, they really don't have very much to disagree or talk about. It is the absence of substantive differences which reduces it to formal posturing, which reduces it to theatre, and I'm afraid most political parties participate in this collusion of theatre that we see in the parliament.
You know, that's an interesting point. You know, Sachin Pilot, through this debate, there is a fair amount of attack on the way the government has handled Parliament. You heard what Najma Heptullah said, that the Prime Minister, she believes, also doesn't take Parliament seriously enough. You heard Derek O'Brien suggesting that it's the regional parties are at least raising their issues. The national parties have to take much of the blame. Do you concede somewhere, Sachin Pilot, that it is the government's prime responsibility now to restore this faith? That it is not just the opposition which has to do it, the government has to walk the extra mile, and the government has failed to walk that extra mile to take along the opposition with it on critical issues.
Rajdeep, we are in government today, and I can assure you that all of us are willing to walk more than halfway to restore semblance in this democratic institution of Parliament in India. But let me also reiterate, there were 2 members of Parliament from the TDP For 5 days, 2 individuals stalled every single proceeding in the Rajya Sabha. So no matter how much you try, it is up to also people who are in the opposition to ask for debate. One of my panelists said
So
that they didn't like
why
or
not
didn't
throw
agree
them
with
out?
what Mr.
Along with
Anthony
those
said.
TDP MPs, there were also Congress MPs going into the well of the House. Why aren't MPs who go repeatedly into the floor of the House thrown out?
Rajdeep, the chair, whether it's Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, is a bipartisan position. They don't throw people out because they're in opposition or in government. It has to be done with consensus amongst all leaders. I just want to make one point. Someone said that Mr. Anthony's statement was right, wrong, incorrect. Well, don't shout him down. Debate it. My good friend Derek says that we are a minority government. If we are a minority, why don't you move a no confidence motion against us? Do the parliamentary things that you're expected to do, to debate and talk and discuss. The Prime Minister, by the way, has answered everything that he's been asked of in question hour. Every major policy decision that he makes, he comes back and reports his government's action in the floor of the House. So it's wrong to say that the Prime Minister has not spoken enough. Perhaps you're not answering all your questions because some of those questions are, and I want to throw one last political punch before I finish. The BJP, Mr. Narendra Modi is trying to oppose the food bill as we bring it forward, but the BJP National Party is okay to pass it in Parliament. So there is obviously some interplay within the opposition itself, and that is reflected in some of the acrimony we see.
The food bill debate we'll do on another day, but before I come to Jai Panda and Derek for final comments, Najma Heptulla, just a minute. Najma Heptulla, just respond to the point. Should MPs who repeatedly come like the TDP MPs into the well of the House day after day disrupting, should they not be removed? Should they not be ejected by the marshals? Should not the Speaker or whoever is in charge of the House take greater responsibility also? Would you have thrown them out?
There is a procedure. There is a procedure for naming the members of Parliament. The procedure should be adopted. The motion has to be moved in both the Houses of Parliament for their misbehavior of the members of Parliament. Unfortunately, the government or the presiding officer didn't take the route. Unfortunately, a single party was named in the bulletin without any rule supporting it. What about them? The rules are not only, Rajdeep, one word, the rules are not only for the members of Parliament, the rules are for the House, and the presiding officers also have to follow certain rules. They cannot arbitrarily name some members without naming them, put them in the bulletin. That was a wrong practice.
Let me just get final words then. As we head into the 67th year of independence, Jai Panda, do you believe that Parliament is fulfilling the responsibility it was mandated in 1947?
Well, Parliament is clearly today disappointing the people of India, and besides the rules needing change, because these rules were written pre-independence for a colonial parliament, not for independent India. Besides the rules needing change, I think it is awaiting a generational change in politicians, because today we are in the era of coalition politics with 40 parties or more in Parliament. It requires much more consultation, not just announcing issues like, for example, in Telangana there was no all-party discussion. Many other policies have been announced without having an all-party discussion. I think when there's generational change, when my friends like Sachin Pilot are Prime Ministers of India, I think they'll do a better job of reaching out and getting some consensus before introducing these policies in Parliament so that they won't be disrupted.
Please don't refer to Sachin as a future Prime Minister. He'll get into trouble in his own party. But that's another debate for another day. Derek O'Brien, do you really hold out hope? You are a first-time MP in that sense. Do you really hold out hope for the House that you represent today? Or are you getting more and more cynical and disillusioned? Quick response.
Absolutely optimistic on this Independence Eve. I've been there for 2 years. Parliament is now evolving. It's now evolving. Rajya Sabha, in the last 2 days, we had some sizzling debates. We passed 4 bills. Of course, a few bad apples, but overall, let's be optimistic about this. This is a great country and this is a great Parliament, and we are evolving. So this evolving will take a process, so that's part of the game.
Evolving into what? Yogendra, as always, let me give you the final word. What are we evolving into as we enter the 67th year of independence?
I do share that sense of optimism in the long run, but I think when we are looking at a sacred institution like the Parliament, and when we look at the debate, it's not the question of being goody-goody. Debates in Parliament are not meant to be goody-goody. There is a room for debate, there is a room for differences, there is a room for acrimony, argumentation, polemics, all that is fine. But all that presupposes serious and substantive differences. If we want to give this institution the grace and dignity that it deserves, There must be serious and substantive differences which are articulated that would give its depth. And I fear that is what is missing. So the point is not merely to change the rules of Parliament. What we need to do is to rewrite the rules of politics itself. That's the bigger challenge. I'm still optimist.
You're still optimistic. We all have to be optimistic in this country. We often live on hope. Thank you very much, Sachin Pilot, Najma Heptullah, Derek O'Brien, Jay Panda, Yogendra Yadav, particularly as none of you shouted at each other. Let's hope that spirit of talking to each other rather than shouting at each other prevails both in television studios and indeed in Parliament. Thank you all very much for joining us here on our talking point. Where do we stand? 66 years ago, at the stroke of midnight this day, India got its freedom. Parliament was the setting for Nehru's historic Tryst with Destiny speech. Today, Parliament has not redeemed its pledge. To call it a federation of anarchists was an overstatement. But there is little doubt that our elected representatives are doing a grave disservice to democracy by reducing the August House to a political akhada. As the President said today, there is growing cynicism and disillusionment with democratic institutions. Left to fester, this trend will imperil democracy itself. India was freed in 1947. Can we awaken